Farm Insurance. Good morning to you, sir. How are you doing?
Good morning, Chris. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Great morning. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Aaron is in the studio with us. And Aaron, we're going to be talking about giving money to your grandkids, talking about saving for college and other things. Why should we do that? I mean, that's the first question coming to mind, because some of us, we don't want to do that. Well, I don't have grandkids, but if I did, I don't know if I would want to do that.
Yeah, I think it's priorities, just in terms of what you'd like to do in your lifetime. I mean, people, are always trying to figure out what their purpose is. What are we doing, like with our life, and where are we going? What do you want to do? And so I think, some people, when they do some kind of self-reflection, evaluation, this is the time of year to do it. A lot of people do it at the end of the year. And they go, well, this is working, this isn't working. And anyways, this comes up. Like, what should we do with some of our money? Some people have, saved, and they get to a certain point in life where, like, they're not spending it, and that's not everybody. Obviously, don't understand that. But some that have saved, give it to your kids, give it to charity, give it to the church. There becomes a point where, like, you know what? It's tougher now on younger people, don't you think?
I do, yeah, I think so.
I mean, so if you're in your 20s or 30s and trying to get going now, with the price of everything, it's way more expensive.
Inflation,
Yeah, so I think that's where we're at, Chris, is like grandparents are kind of seeing this and going, yeah, I'd like to give them 5, 10, 20,000, to each grandkid if I can. Those are big numbers, but some people can do that.
Right, yeah. I know, like, one of the things that my mom does is, like, she'll ask me, what do you want for your birthday? And it's like, pay a bill. Like, I don't want anything.
Anything else, yeah.
I'll give you a bill, you can pay it. She's like, okay, at least I know it's going to something that is useful.
And it helps you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of different ways to do that, but I think, that happened in our family, where it was like, I had the opportunity, because I'm in insurance and financial services, to, have a conversation with my parents and my in-laws, and this was one of those things that came up, and they're like, I really like that. You kids don't need the money. I mean, I can see the grandkids needing it. So, doing it for them happened to be through her life insurance.
Okay.
And that they just bought a policy where it just, they were beneficiaries.
Right, yeah.
So on one side of the family, we have 9 grandchildren beneficiaries to CD money that was just sitting there. Just kept, the CD at the bank just kept rolling over. And she finally said, hey, let's make it larger. Let's give it to the grandkids tax-free. She liked that idea. Yeah. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
What about you can't give a certain you can't go over a certain amount per year, though, or it's going to get the IRS is going to say, hey, I need some tax money from it, right?
Yeah, you're going to be taxed. There's a gift tax out there, and that increases every year. You always want to look at that. And some people do, and again, owning a business perhaps, or selling a real estate and then wanting to use that, the proceeds to give to the family, grandchildren.
Yep.
That's where sometimes that money comes from. But you have to be careful while you're living in the gift tax. That's why a lot of people do like the life insurance idea. It's a great way to pass wealth, pass money on to your family members tax-free. Right. You got to be healthy enough to get it. To get life insurance if you're in your 60s, 70s, and even early 80s. But if you are healthy enough, it's a great way to pass on money.
Right. We're talking with Aaron Doan from Aaron Doan State Farm Insurance this morning. How you can give money to your grandkids and different ways to do that. We talked a little bit about just giving it to them as gifting to your grandchildren. But there's also the option for saving for college as an option there too. And I would assume that allows them to not dip into things, but this will be an actual college education that they would be getting, right?
Yeah, they maintain ownership and control of those accounts. When you set up that account, that's your account for a beneficiary. And a lot of times what will happen is they'll have an account for each grandchild. So you can set up that account. Here's money that goes every year. And, some people can do $100 a month per grandchild, which is a lot. But, there's others that, maybe once they get it started with $1,000, after that, they can put in $500 a year or $250. It's something for the future for those kids. And it obviously really helps. It's helping our youngest right now. She's decided to go and be a massage therapist. So that expense for that particular specialty college, including her table and her scrubs, is $18,000 for the year.
Oh, wow.
And so cool that her grandma saved for her, and she has that money, and it's literally no debt because she started when she was born.
Right.
And started saving for grandkids as they were born. Here comes, the savings, and they set up a college account for each grandkid.
Now, Janelle, my question to you is: have you, as a mom, have you considered this? Are you getting closer to that phase of like, okay, because I think as a parent, you're probably not thinking as much of it when they're 6 years old, 8, 10, 12. But there's a point where you probably should be saying, hey, okay, how do I put a little bit away there? Have you thought about that in your particular scenario or no?
Yeah, I mean, when I found out like later on that my grandma had like the savings account on me as well. But I never knew like really why, I guess. But now it makes sense because like now I'm old enough where if I ever did need it, I could always get it. But it was kind of more like of an emergency thing is what I was told. But yeah, I mean, there's that thought has crossed my mind because she's been wanting to get like a savings account because the banks have been going to like the schools and stuff and trying to get kids to save and stuff like that now. So, I mean, it makes sense because if anything was to happen, it has you covered.
Mm-hmm. What do you what is your recommendation when it comes to getting parents and grandparents and everybody involved in that future kids' education? Does it start at a younger age? Obviously, the more wealth you do build up over that time, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, interest compounds. Adults have heard this, over the years, and that's an element where you're gaining, money on your money. I mean, that's the simplest way to put it, right? So, yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is starting with something, Chris. I mean, it sounds simple, and Janelle, it's like just get started. I think that's the hardest part. It's kind of like, I don't know, eating healthy or working out. Like the hardest part is getting started and then going.
Right.
Once you're there doing it, you're like, oh, it becomes natural. And it doesn't need to be this huge number.
Right.
I mean, I've seen probably the tightest budgets that I've seen since probably 2008 and 9, recently talking to people about their money. And that's tough on people right now. But $10 a month, to save per child for their future, it's just going to make it so much easier for them and for you to help them.
Right.
Because parents, all of a sudden, they get to that age and they're like, it's time. I really want to help them.
Right.
And then they do $10 or $15, and it means so much more the earlier you start.
Right.
We're talking with Aaron Doan from Aaron Doan State Farm Insurance this morning. Let's recap here before we wrap up. But gifting to grandchildren, saving for college, leave money to them in their will is obviously an option, and establish a trust fund. So take us through how that connects with the insurance industry in general, if you don't mind, for us this morning.
Yeah, I think the thing to realize is that when, and I can't speak specifically because I'm not a tax advisor and I'm not, not a CPA or an attorney, but I can share that insurance-wise, what I found is that people have a desire, especially the older they get, and the older you get is like, okay, I'm not going to be here forever, and what can I do for the future generations? How can I pay it forward? And that becomes more of a thought process as the decades go by. It's kind of a thought, maybe a little bit in your late 30s and 40s when you have kids, but it becomes more of a thought the older you get when you have kids and grandkids. So I think it's just realizing, what do I got to do? What's going to happen tax-wise when I pass? Like with my IRAs and knowing that those are going to be taxed. So what things can I do that are, tax deferred or tax free for my kids or grandkids, and evaluating that now, that's going to make all the difference in the world.
All right, good information there. We talked this morning on the air about Hudson the radio dog here in the studio, and about a kennel cough and high vet bills and all of that stuff. And to pivot just a moment, it's not our grandkids, but it's like my little child. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
She says I talk to my dog too much. But with that said, you also offer pet insurance, and we've talked about that as a topic in the past. If you don't mind, is that the solution to avoiding high vet bills, or does that affect it as much?
Well, in our area, people have had a lot of different dogs, and they continue to have dogs in the rural areas, right, where they're maybe on a farm or, they have room to roam more. So what I've seen is people that are more, if you will, in the city that have dogs that they maybe go out of the area to get more expensive dogs, Chris, that they want to protect that dog. They may have an investment of $1,000, $1,500, $2,500 in a pet. So they want to get a major medical. That's what the pet insurance does, is it protects them if they get really hurt, or they break a leg, or they need surgery because they swallowed a sock, things of that nature, where all of a sudden it's like, I just spent all my money on my dog. I don't have an extra $2,500 or $2,000 to get have the surgery to take the sock out of my dog's stomach. And so, I mean, that's a real world scenario, is if that is where you want to protect that dog because they're a family member and you talk to your dog and you're close to that dog, that's where you want to go. Okay. I need to really look at this pet insurance because, yes, I saved a long time to get this pet, but now I can't afford to do that again right now. And so the younger the pet is, the less expensive the pet insurance is.
And the younger the pet is?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Which makes sense. As an older, as you get older, doesn't our insurance go up as we get older from a human standpoint?
Absolutely.
Or not? Okay.
Whether it's individual or group. And it's the same way with life insurance.
Okay. So that there's an option. And pet insurance, I wonder if you don't mind, an average cost of pet insurance. Is there a thought behind that?
I mean, I've seen it $35 to $75 a month. So it's a real number. Okay. And I mean, let's face it, there's things that do happen to dogs. Our dog, got in the wrong place at the wrong time with a raccoon. And all of a sudden he got his throat bit. The raccoon grabbed him around the throat, and his throat started to swell up, and, it was a scary moment. And I, in the past, growing up in a lot of rural areas and had a lot of dogs, would have said, I'm really feeling bad about this, but I can't see spending that kind of money. And I did. That was a tough thing to do, to spend the money, but I did it, and I'm glad I did. He lived another, I think almost 5 years.
Oh, see there.
So he was 10, kind of starting to get older, small dog, and then he made it to 15. So it's like, okay, well, I'm glad I did it, because those last 5 years were good up until the end, as most dogs. But yeah, he had great 4.5 years after that incident, and but I paid out of pocket. It would have been nice to have insurance on him.
Yeah, and that would have, and that in that particular case, that's where the pet insurance comes into play.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Aaron Doan from Aaron Doan State Farm Insurance, we appreciate you coming in as always. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, how are they doing that?
Yeah, just walk in. I have 4 licensed people that work for me. We're on US 10 in Ludington. We have customers all over the state. So we are half a mile east of Meyer on US 10 in Ludington, between Ludington and Scottville. You can reach us at 757-3115, or go to ludingtoninsurance.com, and you can find us there.
Okay, sounds good. We appreciate you always coming in.
Yeah, Chris.
Even if you didn't bring bagels this morning.
I know, I'm going to bring bagels.
No, you don't have
I know,
to do
right?
that.
I know. You guys got me.
It's all right.
It's all good.
It is. I'm just going to DoorDash this stuff. We'll charge it to you. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, here's my credit card.
Whatever. No, it's 8:35 now on 102.7 Mom FM and Hot Country Hits 99.9. And at the end of the day, for this segment, it is important for us to remember that you can't take your cash with you when it comes to the gifting or the will or anything like that, college savings. And so being able to have those kind of your ducks in a row in regards to that, I think, is important. And that's those conversations you have with your CPA, your insurance agent, And that can start with a conversation that they can have with you right there with your agents there, because we're not just talking about cash, but we're talking about all the other things that come into play: their cars, their vehicles, their homes, and everything else that is insured through you. Aaron Doan from Aaron Doan State Farm Insurance. Thanks for